All right, thanks, Chris. Welcome, everybody. Very excited to get back on the field here this week against a good Kansas State football team. Program we've had a lot of respect for obviously a long time, and Coach Kleiman obviously has done a tremendous job there in his first year, and tremendous football coach, great staff around him, and a lot of very talented football players on that team. So we know that the kind of challenge that it's going to be. Exciting game to get our Big 12 conference schedule underway, and had a good bye week. Feel good about our team progressing. I think making some improvements in the areas that we're going to need to, and obviously we get a chance to go try to put that on the field on Saturday. So looking forward to that, and that's all I got. Fire away with questions.
Okay, we'll get into questions. We'll begin with Ryan Aber and then go to Eric Bailey.
Yeah, Lincoln, we haven't seen Spencer to this point run a whole lot, but what do you think about his ability to run, and how big of a part of the offense do you anticipate the quarterback run game being this year?
I think we just have to see how it evolves. I mean, he's a good athlete, different kind of athlete. We've had kind of different guys each year, but we've always looked to recruit guys that we feel like gave us some type of threat in the run game and some type of advantage there, and I think he certainly does. So, it'll be fun to see how it evolves, but it's we've really benefited from the last several years of having guys that can move around and make some things happen and be part of the run game, some more than others. But that answers. That's partly about the quarterback, but also it's kind of the rest of your offense too, and what's your recipe for creating big plays, what's your recipe for moving the football effectively, converting key downs, all that good stuff. So he gives us that option, no question.
Appreciate it, Lincoln.
Welcome.
Eric Bailey and then Joe Bettner.
Hey, Lincoln, how beneficial was it to have last week off to really reset any positive or contact tracing results? And do you anticipate things changing much with three straight weeks of games, or is that just hard to predict?
I think it is. I think it's really tough to predict. This will be the first stretch, like you said, of consecutive games. So be interested to see, how that goes, not only for us, but everybody else in our conference. And, it was good to have the bye week when we did. Certainly glad that we ended up scheduling that the way that we did, and, happy that we were able to play. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously you just don't have that cushion now, that you've had, with three straight, important games coming up. And so obviously we got to continue to handle it better. Understand that, a guy makes a mistake or gets popped on contact tracing now, it's not going to be one game. It's likely to be multiple games.
Thanks, Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Bettner and then Jason Kersey.
Lincoln, you've had a home game, had a bye week, and you got another one coming up, and I'm wondering, what does recruiting look like for you guys as far as weeks you probably have guys come and visit? Has it been easier to manage? I'm wondering what that process has been like through these first few weeks.
Honestly, kind of like it's been the last several months. You've got, game plans and practices and all that, but they're still, we're still able to make contact with the guys that we want to be making contact with. It's still a phone call, FaceTime, virtual world, of course, and looks like with the NCAA's decision, it's going to be that for the, the next coming months. So, it's something we're kind of used to right now. It's been different not having the guys on the road during the bye week. That certainly felt different, I think, for our coaches, for everybody. And then certainly was, having the home game the other day and only having to worry about coaching the team was kind of weird. It was like, I'm used to having to do a whole lot more. I think our staff's used to doing a whole lot more, not only trying to win a football game, but conducting visits and all that. So it was, kind of a strange feeling not to have those people here with us, but we've, I think our staffs continue to do a good job to be innovative and find ways to connect with our prospects.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Kersey and then John Hoover.
Yeah. Hey, Lincoln. Watching Spencer throw, it looks pretty effortless a lot of the times, kind of the flick of his wrist. Is that something about his arm or his wrist specifically, or is there more to it than that? And how does a quarterback hone that skill?
I mean, it's a combination of some natural ability, and then I just think a lot of reps over the years. I mean, it's got like a golf swing. Some guys look really, really pretty. Some guys just look like Jim Furyk, and they still get it done. So I mean, he does have a very natural motion. He's been a natural thrower as long as I've known him, and I think his arms continued as his body's developed, which is not different than many, but it's continued to get stronger. But no, he does. He's a confident thrower. He's got really sound mechanics throwing the football, and it kind of, if you were to draw it up, start from scratch, it kind of looks the way you think it probably should look.
Thanks, Lincoln.
You're welcome.
John Hoover and then Cliff Brunt.
Hey, Lincoln, I've heard a couple coaches describe that Friday COVID test as pretty tense, just the waiting and you hold your breath. Can you describe kind of the logistics of what that looks like for you and then how you deal with the tension? And then also, since we're talking to Theo Howard today, I wonder if you could give us some insight on what an asset he's been for you.
Yeah, the test, honestly, I mean, we get it done, and then we have things going on as the results are being processed. We're kind of into our normal Friday routine. So I don't know that we're necessarily like sitting there waiting on pins and needles. It's just you get the results when you get them. And I mean, that's sure the Friday test, or you think about those. I mean, they're kind of all the same to me. I mean, they've all got the same result, and so yeah, we're honestly probably set on pins and needles more with the first ones we had. Now that we do it so often, it's maybe a little bit more used to it. So yeah, I mean, we all, staff goes down there along with the players. We get tested, and then I get a phone call from Scott Anderson, and it's either a happy phone call or a sad phone call, as are most of my calls from Scott Anderson. And Theo Howard, yeah, he's done a really nice job. He's picked up our stuff. I think we were able to identify early on with him, just from UCLA film and some of the early time we had with him, some key areas we want him to improve. And I think he's really consciously attacked those areas. I think he's becoming a more complete player, and then pretty remarkable. I mean, to be able to come off an injury he's coming off of as fast as he has. I mean, our people were excited the whole way, and Theo obviously did a great job. His doctor did a great job. He's really worked his tail off, but pretty remarkable to see how far he's come in such a short time off that injury.
Thank you.
Let's go to Cliff Brunt and then Dean Blevins.
Hey, Coach, given all the numbers, how does having so many people out affect your scout team, the guys that you pick from to give you the best look possible for your upcoming game?
Yeah, me and Coach Gundy and Coach Murray, some guys have had to pull a little double duty. It is. It's a great question. It's a huge impact. It's a luxury at this level that you're used to having. I mean, when you've got over 100 players on a roster, and a lot of those guys active, I mean, you've got a chance to really create. Our scout teams here have been competitive. I mean, guys have had to do well just to be on a scout team and be a starter on a scout team. And that's, a lot of times has led so much. It's obviously helps your team right then, but then the number of guys over the years that have really kind of got going in that role, and then that has led to on the field success on Saturdays, either that year or later on in their career. I mean, it's a long list. And so, no, it's been an adjustment. I mean, there's no question about it, just to be able to practice the way you want. We've had to sacrifice that some. We've had to adjust practice. We've had at times to do a little bit of less scout work because we simply just did not have enough bodies to be able to have a scout team. We've at times had to go, a little bit NFL style and service each other a little bit as far as, with your second and third groups. And so, we've had to be creative, but it has been an adjustment, I think, both for the staff and for the players.
Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
Go to Dean Blevins and then Bill Haston.
Yeah, Lincoln, a couple of questions about the wide receivers. Do you expect Jaden Hazelwood to return to play this year? And secondly, on Marvin Mims, we see the explosiveness and what all he can do, but his 40 times have been all over the place. When he came in, I saw some reported 4.75 type numbers, and then a media member told me that he had timed at 4.3 and 4.4 at OU. Can you put any clarification onto that?
Yeah, it's not 4.75. I can 100% confirm that. No, he can run. He's really fast. I mean, he's easily one of the fastest players on our team, which is, so I mean, where that is exactly on a clock with the abnormal off season, that's tough for me to say. But I mean, he's he's in the fast world. He's in the 4.4 and under world. And then what was the first question, Dean? Sorry.
Do you expect Jaden Hazel?
Oh, yeah. Jaden's done really well, progressing very quickly. We absolutely expect that he'll be available to play for us at some point this year.
Bill Haston and then Barry Trammell.
Lincoln, I understand it's been a wild year for the NCAA, but isn't there someone in Indianapolis who's empowered to spend 2 hours studying the facts of your situation and make a decision? And is the delay, has it been explained to your compliance people, or has it just been silence from Indianapolis?
It's a good question. I certainly understand the question.
It just seems really unfair to you, to the position coaches, to the athletes. I mean, like I said, I know this is a weird year for the NCAA, obviously. It's unprecedented, nuts. But it just seems to me that like somebody in Indy could like take an afternoon, study it all, and arrive at a resolution so you guys can move on and know what to expect.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're approaching it with those guys like that we won't have them, and then if we happen to get some good news, then we'll adjust from there. And those guys are doing the same. I mean, so I think in a sense we've all we're not sitting there dwelling on it day to day. It's been a challenging year for the NCAA. There's a lot on their plate right now, but this is that's a big issue. I mean, it is. It's and it's a much bigger issue than these three players, and that's and I think maybe that's part of why the process has been a little bit slower than all of us would like. But it's you're talking about an archaic rule within the NCAA, and you're talking about a world that has really changed on that subject, and it's a big deal. It is. It's the unfortunate matter is you could go have a first positive test at just about any NCAA school in the country, and you're gonna get counseling, and you're gonna get all the support that you need at some of these great schools. And right now, studies are showing that's how you win. That's how you beat this. That's how you actually help a player, help a person that has made a mistake. And I think a lot of these schools have figured that out. And I think, there's been some really positive trends, and I think developments there. The fact that if you have the same test from the NCAA that you miss 6 games, and the disparity between that is, it's not right. And I am confident that it's going to get fixed or get, head to a more appropriate spot. And again, my experience from that comes from the players you see over the years, and how could we have helped them? How could we have done better? And right now it's about that. And so I don't know if something will change in time to affect these guys, obviously for their sake. I hope it does, because it is really severe, especially when only a couple of teams in the country a year get tested. But they made a mistake, and they're living with the consequences right now, and hopefully something gets changed before that. If not, hopefully it get changed for all the rest of the players, and for just the good of the game.
So you really had no hoped for or expected, like the Texas game or a certain week where you're thinking, I kind of sense that maybe we'll get something that week.
No. I mean, I don't think it, game wise, this or that. I think it's bigger than that. I mean, I think this is a big policy. And listen, it's something that, this is something that should have been changed a long time ago. You're not going to find anybody that argues with that. But it's, it's unfortunate. But at the same time, it is what it is right now. Like I said, we've come to terms with it. Our players have. If something happens, I think that would be great and the right thing to do. But if something happens later on, like I said, at least it's doesn't put other people and other players in what has become a situation for those guys that's not right, and it's not conducive to somebody actually improving and getting better and addressing the issue at hand. And that's the problem that I have with it.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dean Blevins and then James Hale.
Lincoln, I just had
I'm sorry, Dean. I meant Barry Trammell. I'm sorry. Apologize to Barry as well. Barry?
Well, I didn't know if that was an insult to me or to Dean, but hey, Lincoln, the thresholds by the Big 12 with the 1 quarterback, the 4 D line, the 7 O line, receivers, running backs, DBs, linebackers not in that group. Is that because people think, or maybe you coaches think, those are not interchangeable but easily filled by other positions, or why do you think those groups were excluded? And as far as tailback for you, look like you're going to have 6 at this point. You're down to 3. Do you have emergency plans, and how easily could you move somebody into that position?
Yeah, no, good question. Those were proposal put together by us, the Big 12 coaches, and I think the biggest thought process is one, it's not very easy to interchange big guys. I mean, you only have a certain number of big guys on your team, and every team in America is going to have more skill guys than they have big guys, and so I think that was the first part of it, just kind of player safety. Nobody wants to see somebody have to throw a 230-pound tight end in there to play offensive tackle. And I think as far as the skill guys, I think the skill guys are still certainly considered into that, but I think, you're looking at, you'd have to lose a mass of skill guys to not be able to do it. And so I think they're represented, but they're just represented with that overall 53 number. I mean, and if you got hit so bad across the board, you didn't have even skill guys to put in at a position, you probably would be under that 53 man as well. And so we felt like that was a good enough threshold, but just felt like those other positions, you just couldn't safely, you couldn't safely kind of make the decision to go on playing.
And the tailbacks, you got emergency plans there?
We do. Yeah, we do. I would say all the skill positions right now, because of that right now, we've got, some emergency plans, and, luckily enough for us, we've got, some maybe better options than most would have.
Okay, James Hale and then Bob Prisbillo.
Lincoln, but working off your depth chart, you didn't have several guys available in the offensive line. So theoretically, if you can get those guys back, are you looking forward to resetting your offensive line, getting all your tackles back and things going into Kansas State? And how much better will that make your offensive line play if you have your guys back in place?
Well, we're hoping we're certainly hoping to get back to full strength at some point. But like I said, the advantage we've had, and we've said a lot, is just having that core group of guys that have played so much ball, and a lot of them have played multiple positions, and so that's been very helpful. So, like the group that we put out there the other night, hope to have a few more options and guys available, and even the potential to play multiple guys with it, throughout the game, which is something that, when at full strength, we would like to be able to do, but obviously that's going to depend on week to week and how these guys perform, and certainly how these COVID tests go.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Bob Prisbillo and then Joey Helmer.
Yeah, Lincoln, you really never had any issues with the dead period being extended month by month, but now that it's through December 31st, you still feel that's a good decision? And how strange is it going to be at early signing period for some of these kids to sign when they haven't visited campus or even met you guys face to face?
Yeah, Bob, I really don't understand it at all. Everything that we were told and led to believe was it was going to continue to be a month-to-month decision, and we would continue to monitor Obviously the COVID and travel and all that goes with that. Yeah, so for us to just jump ahead and do that, I have no explanation. We as coaches have received zero explanation about it. I was shocked because it's important that these guys are able to go see these places. And not saying it's going to be able to happen, but it might be able to happen. And for us to close the door on it so quickly, I think most of my peers that I've had a chance to speak with were caught off guard. With really zero explanation for it, and don't really understand it at all.
Let's go to Joey Helmer and then Adam Kilgore.
Yeah, Lincoln. Jaden got the start at cornerback opposite on the opposite side of. I just freeze. Sorry, on the opposite side of Trey. What have you seen maturation-wise in his game, and also what are your thoughts on the secondary overall?
Yeah, no, he's had a good camp. He's done a lot of good things. I mean, I think you see some signs of him starting to take those, take that natural step from a guy that was able to come in and compete as a true freshman. Had his ups and downs again, like 99.9% of true freshmen do. And I think he's learned a lot. I think his body is a lot stronger. I think he's moving better, more confident in the schemes and his technique, and consequently he's, doing a nice job. So I've been proud of him and his growth. I mean, it reminds me like a lot of the young DBs we've had through the years, whether it was, the jump Buki made from his first year to his second year playing. And we've had several, Trey was that way. We've had several guys make that jump, and we certainly expected that Jaden would be one of those guys that'd be capable of it. But he's done a nice job so far, and I think there's absolute improvement in his game. Secondary, I'm excited about. I mean, there's I think the competitive depth in that room is really good. I like just kind of the vibe and the mentality in it. We've got some really good leaders. Some of our strongest leaders, not only on defense but on our team, are in that room right now. And so, we'll be excited to, as the year goes on, to continue to progress these young guys. And because I think there's some talented guys there that certainly can help us right away. And even with that, we've got a lot of competition and guys that have played a lot of snaps around here that are fighting like crazy to either get on the field or stay on the field. And that's how you always want any group to be.
Okay, let's go to Adam Kilgore of the Washington Post and then Garen Emig.
Hey, Lincoln, I had kind of a broad question for you. It's become rarer and rarer in college football over the past decade or so to see the traditional pure pocket passer. Watching the first 2 weeks of the NFL, it seems like it's almost the same thing happening at that level too. Have you seen a shift at the highest levels where that player, that pocket traditional stationary guy is almost being phased out of the game? What are the factors you might see leading to that, and how much of it might go back to just kind of who's being picked to play the position, high school and even younger?
That's a good question. I mean, sure, I do think there's a shift. I mean, I think for a lot of reasons. I think, first college and then the NFL has started to figure out that if you do have a guy that can move around some, it opens up so much for you. There's so much more schematically you can do. You got a guy that can get you out of bad situations. And I think what you're finding is it's like, to me, I think some of the earlier guys in the NFL that maybe were considered more athletic were, really, really athletic guys, but they maybe weren't quite as good from the pocket as some of the quote unquote pocket guys. I think what you're finding now is you're seeing guys that are really, really good from the pocket too, that are also happen to be very, very athletic. And that, to me, that's to me what you're looking for. I mean, that is, when you got a guy that if people are going to try to keep you in the pocket, that can pick you apart and win from there, and then can escape, can get outside the pocket, can do some design things in a run game or bootleg game, and you add that aspect to it, it makes it very, very difficult to defend, very difficult. And so I think now there's not a ton of those guys that exist. That's a rare combination to have. But I think when you find that, I think it's the toughest thing in this game to defend. And so now it's something we've looked for in recruiting. I mean, I know a lot of other people do too, and I think you'll continue to see more and more skill sets like that, both at our level and at the next level.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, I apologize. We have time for only one more question. That's going to go to Garen Emig.
Yeah, Lincoln, I know every year you're on alert with regard to your guys' injury situation, but I've heard a lot of coaches express even more serious concern, especially early in the season with regard to muscles or soft tissues, because their guys just weren't around to condition maybe as much as they would have under normal circumstances. You got out of the first game, I think, in pretty good shape, but how big a deal does this remain in your mind?
I honestly, Garen, we hadn't played a 100-play game in 90-degree heat with a depleted roster yet, and hopefully we don't. But I don't feel like we're that far off from where we've been. I really don't. I mean, I think you've got a few guys individually, guys that have missed time that physically aren't quite where they would normally be. You just have a few more of those from all of this from the COVID, but I'm not saying don't think about it, but I can't honestly sit here and say it's a huge concern of mine right now. I mean, I think where my bigger concern would come from, if we get to a point where we have an extremely depleted roster and are, asked to go play a game, and we have guys in there that are not ready to fully play a full game. But you don't have any other choice. Those are probably the biggest concerns. If we're, anywhere near full strength, that's not a huge concern of mine right now. And I'm not basing that on the one game. I'm basing that on, what I see on the practice field every day, what we're able to do. We're building in a good direction with our guys who have been able to practice.
Okay, appreciate it.
You're welcome.